What's up, guys? Welcome back to Duty's Daggers. How about a Spyderco showdown between the Sage 5 and the Native 5? I think a lot of people are trying to decide between these two. I know I was for a while, and then I just decided I'd get both, which you can always do. But, maybe you just want one of them. Maybe you want to see what I think between the two. Well, I'm going to give you my thoughts. Please subscribe to the channel. Look down there, make sure you are subscribed, and like the video while you're there. That helps me out a lot. I'll wait for you while you go do it, so you don't miss anything. Go ahead. Cool. Appreciate it. So here we are. Now, full disclosure, the Native 5 is one of my favorite knives ever. Probably is my favorite Spyderco. But I really like the Sage 5 too, and I think the Sage 5 we get some things that you don't get in the Native 5, and vice versa. But I'm going to go over everything. Now, they are both in Maximate steel. So as far as cutting performance, these are very, very similar. But, Spyderco's come in a wide variety of blade steels. So I'm not really going to be talking about the steel performance. Spyderco does the best heat treats possible with their blade steels. So rest assured that whatever blade steel you choose, it's going to be the best that you can get of that steel. So first, let's do a quick overview of the Native 5. Now, these are aluminum scales from Applied Weapons Technology, AWT. And once I put these on, it really changed the knife and made me love it even more. I'm considering getting the same for my my Sage as well. When I first bought the knife, it had these same gray FRN scales. And it was a great knife, but these just take it to a whole nother level. They're really incredible. So the Native 5 is a lockback, which I think turns a lot of people off. Maybe you've tried lockbacks in the past and you don't think you like them, or you have never tried a backlock but you just assume you won't like it. If you're one of those, I would say give it a shot. Give Spyderco's backlock a shot, because they don't feel like any other backlocks I've tried, and I haven't tried a whole lot. But it certainly feels way different than, say, like a Buck 110 backlock, which is, at least when I think of backlocks, I kind of think of that first, or at least I did for a long time. That's kind of the classic lockback folding knife. This is not that at all. So try one. What are the drawbacks of having a lockback? Well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're doing the overview of the Sage first. So both of these are pretty similar size. The Native 5 has a slightly shorter blade. The Native 5 is just under 3 inches. It's like 2 15/16. And the Sage is just at 3. So very, very similar blade lengths. The handle on the Sage is like 4 1/8. And then the handle on the Native 5 is about 4. So slightly longer handle on the Sage, but very, very similar in size. Ergonomics are fantastic on Native 5, just incredible. It's really a shrunken down Shaman. The classic crazy good Shaman ergos are present here. Not as roomy, but I don't think you need that room because, I have a large medium or a small large type hands, and choked up in this choke up spot, I have extra handle here. So that means if you have much larger hands than I do, you're still going to fit on this knife just fine. The choke up spot's really part of the grip. It's not, I wouldn't almost not call that a choke up spot. It's just part of the grip. You would definitely never ever hold the knife like this. You're holding it like this. It's part of the grip. You have the full flat grind. You have Spyderco's leaf-shaped blade or drop point, whatever you want to call it. The most versatile blade shape of all time. This can do everything well. Utility cuts, bam, super good. You got a little belly for when you want to rock back on a cut on a flat surface cutting board type thing. Slicing, there's not a drastic belly for you to cause the cardboard to kind of slip out. Perfect for slicing. The blade stock thickness is 125 thousandths, but it aggressively tapers toward the tip. You can see it does not stay thick very long at all. It kind of very quickly gets down to not a too thin tip to where you'd worry about breaking it, but thin enough to be very effective at utility cutting or any types of piercing type cutting. Now this particular version, the Maximet has a stonewashed blade, and I don't know if all Native 5s have stonewashed blades. I'm not sure. I don't think so, because I remember I had a MagnaCut one, and I believe it was a belt satin. So I think it's just these MagnaCut, or maybe some others. I'm not sure. The lockback mechanism, I think, is really great. Not only does it make really good, loud sounds, it's not going to come through as good on the video, but trust me, it's a loud, very satisfying click. Slow rolling this knife out is extremely satisfying. I don't flick this knife, although I can. It's not easy, but I can. I don't. I roll it out because it's very satisfying to do that. And to close the knife, you just bam and bam. Once you get used to it, it's really quite fast. Probably not as safe for your fingers as a compression lock. Actually, definitely not as safe, but you know, you'll get used to it. And if you don't want to do it that way, just use two hands. That's fine. Very nice sound when you snap close as well. Lovely. Perfectly centered, all that good stuff. This is a lynch clip that I put on it. Yeah. One of the best EDC knives ever made, I think. Now, the Native 5, or sorry, the Sage 5. This one is made in Taichung, Taiwan, so this is not a USA-made Spyderco. But in my opinion, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that. I will say that Taichung, Taiwan makes very good Spydercos. Very, very good. Just because it's not a USA-made Spyderco does not mean that it's not as good a knife at all. This one we have the belt satin, full flat grind. Same leaf-shaped blade, but a little more kind of hump to the spine. You can see the Native 5 kind of slopes down quickly from where the handle starts. This one we have a little bit of a hump there. Definitely not as big as like the Para 3 or the PM2, but a little one. And then it kind of humps up slightly and then comes down to the tip. So, but what the belly is doing is very, very similar, almost exactly the same. Just the spine is a little more humpy on the Sage. FRN scales, obviously you could change that if you want. You could put titanium, aluminum, whatever. If you're sticking with the FRN though, these are very, very nice, very grippy, but not too grippy to where it like tears up your hand or your pocket. Speaking of your pocket, they have a flat spot right where the logo is, where that clip's going to rub and pinch on your pants seams. So don't worry about your pants getting ripped up on this texture. That's awesome. I love how they do that. It just says Spyderco Sage. It's not just a blank spot. They actually use that to put the logo in. Reversible pocket clip. Both knives have the lanyard hole. The Sage 5 one is right in the middle of the clip, and I'm going to keep mixing up these names. The Native 5 is in the middle of the clip, and the Sage is off to the side. Now, the main difference is the compression lock. We have a compression lock on the Sage 5, and the compression lock is really nice. I love the compression lock very much. Also, there's like a pivot bushing system on this Sage 5 that's unlike a PM2 or a Para 3. It's just really, really smooth. It's smoother and more of a free swinging blade than those other knives. It's unbelievable, actually. I have zero blade play whatsoever. Completely rock solid. And look at this. Is that unbelievable? Like, what the hell, dude? I don't understand it. It's wild. At least every PM2 I've owned and every Para 3 I've owned, if I wanted a free swinging blade like this, I would have to have a little bit of blade play. You know, there would be a little bit of movement here if I wanted to loosen up the pivot enough to have this happen. Not on the Sage 5. This is rock solid. So cool, man. Perfectly centered. Great snappy detent on this one. It's just it's perfect. The compression lock is perfect. Blade stock thickness is, I think, a little thinner. Yeah, 118 thousandths. whereas the native is 125. But this one stays thicker, a little bit longer. Let me hold them up together here. You can see the native 5 here tapers quickly to a thinner tip, while the sage stays thicker a little bit longer. Are you going to notice that day-to-day cutting? I don't think so. Maybe if you're... Yeah, no, I really don't think so. But it's just an interesting thing to note. As far as the ergonomics, the choke-up spot is almost exactly the same size. The ergonomics of the handle is almost exactly the same as well. Thicknesses are almost exactly the same. Obviously, that's going to change depending on what scales you have on it. There's almost a little bit more of a hump right here on the Sage, while the Native 5 doesn't really have that kind of hump right there. I don't know if it really does a lot for the ergos. Ergonomically, these feel very, very similar. Yeah, really the only difference is this hump. I do like the Native 5 a little bit more because it does not have that hump. It gives you a little more freedom to put your thumb wherever you want to. This one, you're more or less, you're not locked in. You can go above it, you can go right on top of it, but it's not as comfortable moving around. You kind of want to be right here. Most comfortably is right here or completely over that hump. You can't really go wherever. So that's a reason I like the Native 5 better. So we've looked at both knives. The main difference being the locking mechanism and the lack or presence of a hump on the spine. Everything else is extremely similar. I like the locking mechanism. Well, do I like the... I don't know, man. Let me put it this way. If the Native 5 had a compression lock version, would I like that more than the Sage 5? So say they both had compression locks, and that was the only difference. They were the same thing, just they both had compression locks. I would pick the Native 5. I like it, the ergonomics a little more. I like the blade shape a little more. Even though the hump here doesn't really do much for performance, it just kind of gets in the way a little bit, and though I don't mind it, I think the Sage 5 blade looks a little bit better. Just this straight line coming from the back down all the way to the tip, just that unbroken arc, I think looks really nice. Whereas this, got the little hump there, whatever, but I think the Native 5 looks a little bit better. And ergonomically, it's a little bit better because of the lack of the hump. I am not one of those people, however, who is shouting from the rooftops that they want a compression lock Native 5. Because I am perfectly happy with a lockback one. Would I buy a would I buy a compression lock Native 5 if they came out with one? I honestly don't think so, because I already have this one, and I love it. There's a special place in my heart for this because it's awesome. There's something to be said for a lockback. Just the feeling of it, the smoothness. It's not drop shut like this one is, but it's just smooth in that pivot. Just feeling that back spring glide against the, where it's putting pressure on the tang in here. Just that smoothness, and then that just very loud, sturdy snap as it locks out. It's just satisfying. I really like it. So I guess what I want your takeaway to be is, don't count this one out. Don't count the Native 5 out because it's a lockback. Try it. Just try one. Maybe go to a knife store, or just, buy one of the cheap versions, try it out. If you don't like it, you can sell it, whatever. I'm pretty sure you're going to like it, though. And if not, if you're one of those people that would love a compression lock Native 5, then just get a Sage 5, because they are extremely similar. And it's an amazing compression lock, man. One of the best, I think. Because it is so snappy, and because of the unbelievable just free swinginess of the pivot while being completely vault solid. It's really cool. So, in conclusion, I really love both knives. If I had to pick between the two, though, Native 5. That's it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to know, if you're against lockbacks, if you want there to be a compression lock Native 5, let me know in the comments what you think. We'll talk about it. I love you. I'll see you soon.